Hello again, it's me, your host, Amateur Overlord, coming to you today, bringing you that daily content. Um, I'm not gonna lie, today I'm like, what am I even gonna talk about? What am I even going to talk about today? Because um, there's relevant issues to talk about, there's social issues to talk about, there's my own personal situation, which you probably don't even want to hear about. Um, but I did see something yesterday when I was on Twitter about how the British government, in an attempt to tackle or to deal with the rise in youth violence, is now going to look on YouTube and other places for artists that make drill music. Now, drill music isn't unique to the UK. It's something that originated in the United States. It's for those who are unfamiliar, drill music is a type of music that is explicit in its content, in that it describes in great detail violent acts um, by one group of people or one person to another person. So you could say, like, you know, a very creative way to explain what you would like to do to a quote unquote enemy. Now, the UK government is saying that this music is a lot to blame for the current climate that is being faced inside the UK. Like, in the beginning of the year, there were a lot of stabbings, a lot of murders, and they believe that the music is to blame for that situation. And I have a number of problems with that. Firstly, um, music is an artistic expression. There are some people that need to tell their story through that medium, and we need to hear it. And if that type of music is how they do that, then I respect that. At the same time, they have people who are culturally ignorant deciding what is and what isn't drill music. Um, these same people would probably, and this is just my assumption, think that "Hit 'Em Up," the diss track made by Tupac back in the day, going at the notorious B.I.G., was drill music. When in actuality, it was just two artists having a uh, a personal disagreement that did spill out of hand in the end. But at the same time, that wasn't drill music. And a lot of hip hop, especially underground urban hip hop, is gonna be visceral. They have to speak in a way that is honest to the environment in which they come from. And I think that if you're gonna go after them for that's I think it's ridiculous. It's like some and I have listened to it, but I don't listen to it like that. Some heavy metal, um, some punk rock, it goes to some dark places. Like, if you really want to go there, and it'd be like, you know, blaming Marilyn Manson or one of them guys for witchcraft, or you know, doing something a little off key just because he might reference something in his material. Like, it's along those lines. It's when you give people who are culturally ignorant such a broad brush to paint with, they will coat everything with that garbage. They will do it. And it will be a way for them to quote unquote clean house and get rid of all the things they think are culturally disruptive or socially disruptive in one fell swoop. And that's the problem. It's an assault and an attack on freedoms. And in a country that doesn't have a whole lot of freedoms anywhere, I mean, London is one of the most heavily surveilled cities, if not the heaviest surveilled city in the world. Like, they're just giving politicians, people who preside over different boroughs and different towns that don't live in these towns even. They just represent these towns, and they live in these faraway places in these big houses that, without ever knowing the people in their constituencies. Like, they don't know these people. They don't care about these people. And it's just really sad, in my opinion. So that's the discussion today. Drill music. Should it be allowed to continue? Should it be censored, basically? Because that's all they're really talking about. Censorship or outright removal. Should you be able to censor an artistic medium? Once you start to go down that slope, is it so slippery that you are going to end up in a situation where, any form of artistic expression, if it's considered disagreeable, will be censored? That's the problem that you really have to worry about. Remember, for many, many years, graffiti was considered just straight up vandalism, and now it's art. People like, oh, Banksy did this, Banksy did that, Banksy did this. But if you want to break it down, if you don't want Banksy painting on the side of your building and he does it, he vandalized that. He pretty much vandalized your house or your building or your whatever. If you don't want Banksy doing that, then he's vandalized whatever property you have. Like, truthfully now, if Banksy does do something like that on the side of your building, it could increase the property value. But there was a time when he was doing stuff like that that would have just probably pissed you off. And that's the truth of it. So it's strange. I feel that, and maybe this is from my perspective, I feel that people of color aren't even allowed to express themselves when they're angry. And that's probably the hardest thing that I have to admit here. It's like, even when you're angry, even when you're frustrated with your condition, even if you want to speak on your condition, you're not even allowed to do that. You can't even you're not even entitled to the feelings of anger that you might feel in your environment. And that is a horrible thing, because sometimes these situations, I'm not saying this is what it is, but for some of these people, maybe being able to talk about their situation, even in a pretty violent or outlandish way, like a lot of these tracks do go down. I've heard a few tracks. I can't name any artists. It's not my type of music. But I know, or I have a strong inclination that the British government would use this new power to go after grime artists and hip hop artists and any artist they feel is socially unacceptable. And that, like I said, is the worrying part about it. So I open up the conversation to everybody who listens to drill music or hip hop, or is down with urban culture. You have a strong opinion on this. If you think that they should have the right to do this, let me know. I mean, it was all over the LBC Twitter feed yesterday. I dropped my 2 cents in there. I can't believe it. I literally, every time, actually I can't believe it. If anyone here has read 1984 by George Orwell, he also wrote Animal Farm, great book. Probably the best way to explain communism as we know it. But George Orwell, in 1984, he wrote about certain things that would occur in like a totalitarian police state type situation, and I'm seeing so many of those things happening today. It's so creepy. It's so creepy. Like, that book is so poignant. Like, it's so relevant, especially today. When he wrote it, it wasn't, but the relevancy of it in today's world it's undeniable. So that's a good book. If you haven't read it and you want to read a good book, I mean, for most people it's part of their school syllabus, so you probably had to read it, or your cliff note it. And yeah, cliff notes are like those little it's a brand of literature that basically condenses all the information you should have gotten from a book and puts it in a nice, neat little packet, and then you could use that to write your essays. But teachers caught on to that. That was how we did it back in my day. We bought Cliff Notes. Or it's literally somebody who has read the book and done an essay on it, and you just buy that off them, or they give it to you, or whatever. The internet's a beautiful place now, so you can do whatever you want. But yeah, drill music is the topic for today. Artistic expression is the topic of today. Censorship is the topic of the day. If you feel strongly about any of these things, if you are an artist, especially if you're an artist, I want to hear from you. How do you feel about that? If you love these people, or not these people, if you love the music that these people make, I want to hear from you. Tell me what I need to know. Tell me what I don't know. If you hate the fact that these people make these music, if you've lost loved ones and you feel that this was a result of this type of culture or this type of music, then I want to hear from you too. Ultimately, these problems in society, I think personally, and this is my problem with the government, they especially, and the police too, this is just a personal opinion, they never address the source of the problem. A lot of the problems in these communities are poverty. These are poverty-stricken communities, and they don't address the social issues. A lot of these kids feel that the only way out is for them to do these things that are not necessarily positive. But then the options that are given to them are so limited that you could feel bad that they're doing this, or you could be upset they're doing this. But unless you've given them more options, then, How can you judge them? Because they're still going to want to survive. They're still going to want life and liberty like everyone else. So it's just my personal opinion. I hope to hear from you, and I hope you have a great day. This has been Amateur Overlord. I'm signing out.